Welcome, my dear Aries friends, both the loyal companions who have walked this path with me before and the curious newcomers just stepping into the circle of Zodiac Talks Tarot. You are not here by accident. This space has a way of drawing in the chosen ones, the souls restless enough to question, daring enough to act, and stubborn enough to laugh at the universe even when it throws curveballs. And let me be clear, September 2025 is not a month of gentle nudges, it is a cosmic shove, the kind that sends your morning coffee flying if you're not paying attention. The wheel of time is spinning fast, and Aries, you are standing exactly where fate intended. The old cycles are closing not because you failed, but because you outgrew the classroom. You learned the lessons, passed the exams, and now the universe is promoting you whether you feel ready or not. Astrologers love to make portals sound like science fiction, but let me ground it for you. The 9/9 energy is not about some magical door floating in the sky, it's a mirror of timing, a reminder that there are seasons for planting and seasons for harvesting. Aries knows this instinctively, though patience is rarely your strong suit. You plant the seed in January and demand a forest by March. That fiery impatience is both your gift and your comedy. But here is the twist, September 2025 is the moment when the soil itself feels charged, as if the earth has agreed to speed things up for those daring enough to take bold action. This is not luck, this is design. It is your year of triumph 2025. And the only real question is whether you will rise to meet it with courage or complain that the universe didn't consult your calendar first. Either way, Aries, destiny has already RSVP'd. Completion is not the universe slamming a door, it is you realizing the hallway keeps going and you've been standing beside the elevator the whole time, patting your pockets for a key you already had. Aries, when cycles close now, it isn't failure, it's fit. You've grown out of the old story the way a brilliant student outgrows a desk meant for third grade, knees knocking the underside, mind racing miles beyond the lesson plan. Psychology calls this a developmental leap, Buddhism would call it the natural unfolding of causes and conditions, I call it your ignition point. The 9/9 current functions like a spiritual starter switch, click, and the engine of purpose hums awake. Of course, endings can feel rude, like a teacher turning the classroom lights on when you were still finishing the extra credit, but these closures are promotions in disguise. You are the ram, stagnation is not in your biology. You came here to test rock, to push through brush, to discover how strong your legs are when the incline gets real. So if you sense doors shutting, breathe. Doors are how hallways are organized. The real question is not why did that close, but where is the stairwell? This month, the stairwell is marked clearly, your next level calls you by name, and yes, it pronounces it correctly. Some will hear that call as a whisper, you'll hear it as a drumline. That is the signature of the chosen ones, those who cannot pretend they don't know better once they know better. Leadership here is not about titles or microphones. It's about refusing to stay small when your soul demands more sky. In social terms, it looks like you declining dynamics that once felt familiar but now pinch like shoes half a size too tight. In psychological terms, it's your nervous system learning safety in expansion rather than safety in shrinking. In Buddhist terms, it's right effort, aligning energy with wholesome aims, letting go of what creates suffering, even if that suffering is wrapped in nostalgia. And yes, you can smile while you do it. Humor converts friction into momentum. Which brings us to the mirror. September's law is reflection, whatever you broadcast, the world rebroadcasts with surround sound. This is not woo, it's interpersonal physics. Humans are exquisitely attuned to micro-expressions and tone, and Aries energy is rarely set to mute. If you stride into a room powered by impatience, everyone's amygdala gets the memo. If you enter laughing at the way you nearly burned breakfast while scrolling life advice, that levity ricochets off walls and softens shoulders. So curate your signal. not performatively authentically. Choose words that move things forward. Pair candor with compassion. If a friend needs truth, give it, but garnish it with a smile that says, "I'm on your side even as I hand you this mirror." Sarcasm can be your spice if you use it to release pressure, not to score points. Think of it as the relief valve on your Aries pressure cooker. Pop it at the right moment and dinner is saved. Think, too, about routine. I know Aries hears routine and immediately looks for an exit. But evidence-based psychology is unambiguous. Small, consistent habits compound into outsized outcomes. Build a cadence that respects your fire. Morning movement to clear static. 3 meaningful conversations a week to nourish alliances. A nightly 5-minute check-in to ask, did I act from reactivity or from intention? That alone can turn a week around. And on the spiritual side, let the 9/9 window be a ritual of recommitment. Light a candle, name precisely what you're done repeating, and then name precisely what you're ready to practice. Destiny isn't a thunderclap, it's your calendar sprinkled with brave choices. If you need a secular definition of grace, here's mine: doing the next right thing with a generous heart, even when nobody is grading you. You don't have to announce your upgrade, your presence will do it for you. People will feel the steadiness, the cleaner edges in your voice, the humor that no longer jabs but warms. That is resonance. That is lead. One of the more intriguing themes of September for you, Aries, is the sharpening of what mystics have long referred to as the subtle senses. In old texts it may be called Clair-Tangency or, more specifically, Clair-Tangency, the ability to gather meaning through touch, through physical connection with objects, or through brushing up against another human being. Now, before your fiery Aries humor jumps in and pictures yourself grabbing a doorknob and suddenly narrating its tragic love story, let's clarify. This isn't about sitcom-style psychic comedy. It's quieter, more refined. Think of it as the instinctive feeling you get when you shake someone's hand and instantly know if you can trust them, or the odd weight in your chest when you hold a necklace and remember a person from years ago only to have that very person reach out to you later that day. That's not coincidence, that's your gift stretching its legs. Modern psychology often reduces this phenomenon to intuition, the brain's rapid-fire ability to process patterns beneath conscious awareness. Neuroscientists explain it in terms of implicit memory and predictive coding. Mystics, on the other hand, say you're tuning into the vibration of the unseen world. I say both are true. Whether you want to frame it as advanced cognitive processing or as a spiritual hotline, the important thing is not to dismiss it. Aries has a habit of brushing off subtleties as not practical enough, but the very thing you're tempted to call weird may be the compass guiding you toward your year of triumph 2025. And really, what's weirder, having a gut feeling prove true, or ignoring it and walking headfirst into the same mistake twice? Notice how this sense shows up. You might touch a friend's arm and feel their sadness before they speak. You might walk into a room and know instantly that something is off even when everyone is smiling. Trust these signals. They are the whispers beneath the noise. And Aries, your task this month is to listen. A ram who learns to pause and feel before charging will always outlast one who runs blindly at every fence. Consider it spiritual muscle training. Now, as if the universe wanted to underline the point, the tarot symbols stepping forward for you are 4 of Wands, the Lovers, and the King of Pentacles. This is not a random assortment. Together they create a storyline: joy, choice, and stability. 4 of Wands says celebration is on the horizon: weddings, birthdays, milestones, community events. Ordinarily, small talk makes Aries itch, you'd rather skip straight to the action. But this month, those seemingly trivial conversations are the doorways to larger alignments. So say yes to the invitations. You never know when the person you meet while balancing a paper plate of barbecue ribs might turn into the collaborator who opens your next chapter. The Lovers, of course, tempts you to read it as romance, but its deeper meaning is choice. You stand at a fork. Do you follow the crowd's expectation or your own pulse? Here the advice is unequivocal: choose yourself. Not in a selfish, stomp over others way, but in a self-affirming, soul-aligned way. This is the only path that leads to your true year of triumph 2025. Borrowing someone else's script only ensures you'll forget your lines halfway through. Aries, you weren't cast as an understudy, you're the lead. Own it. And then there is the King of Pentacles. The message here is less glamorous but more vital: stability, prosperity, grounded success. The fiery nature of Aries often wants quick wins and shiny prizes, but empires aren't built by impulse, they are built by habit. This is where the Buddhist angle comes in: discipline is freedom. Routines, though they sound dull to your adventurous ears, are the containers that keep your fire from burning out. Even comedians rehearse their timing. Even warriors sharpen their swords every day before battle. Your improvisational spirit is magnificent, but without rhythm and repetition, the flame flickers out. With them, it becomes a steady beacon. So yes, I can hear your groan about routines from here. You'd rather freestyle your way through life. But think of it this way: discipline is simply devotion in action. A schedule is not a cage, it is scaffolding that lets your brilliance climb higher. This month, Aries, the universe is asking you to integrate both your newfound sensitivity and your ancient fire. Celebrate when called, choose your heart over the crowd, and build your stability with rituals that honor your energy. That combination is how spiritual gifts evolve into real-world triumphs. And if you can laugh at yourself along the way, say, when you accidentally predict a friend's breakup before they do, then you've mastered the secret. Wisdom and humor make the climb not only bearable, but beautiful. Connection, for Aries in September, is not a side note, it is the headline. This is the month where the universe practically nudges you into the crowd, whispering, "Stop pretending you're fine going it alone." Aries is a warrior by nature, yes, but even the most independent fighter needs allies, laughter, and a table full of people to clink glasses with. Whether you're in business looking to expand your network, single and curious about who might catch your eye, or committed and ready to deepen bonds, September offers fertile ground. From a psychological standpoint, relationships act as mirrors and motivators, teaching us how to see ourselves through the responses of others. For Aries, who often rushes past subtleties in pursuit of the next mountain, the lesson this month is to pause and notice the gift of human presence. And don't underestimate the light-hearted side of this energy: the flowers, the fragrances, the neon-colored sneakers that make you grin even though they clash with everything you own. Humor matters here. Sometimes spiritual growth is not about meditating on a mountaintop but about buying that ridiculous jacket simply because it makes you laugh every time you put it on. In Buddhist language, this is skillful means using whatever lifts the heart as a path to joy. And speaking of paradox, your guide for this cycle is the turtle. Could there be a creature more unlike Aries? The turtle creeps along, deliberate, carrying its sanctuary on its back, while you want to leap headfirst into the next adventure. But therein lies the lesson. The turtle represents patience, power in stillness, and the ability to trust the pace of life. Imagine climbing to the top of a mountain only to immediately sprint back down without ever pausing to take in the view. That's wasted triumph. The turtle reminds you that the pause is as sacred as the push. Psychology backs this up. Sustained success comes not from relentless acceleration but from strategic pacing, recovery, and resilience. And yes, I know asking Aries to be patient is like asking a toddler to savor broccoli. Your version of patience is waiting 2 minutes for microwaved pizza and declaring it an eternity. But precisely because it is so uncomfortable, patience is your growth edge. Slow down just enough to let the miracles catch up. There is another theme winding through September, and it touches the tender spot many Aries carry, age and timing. You may hear the inner voice whispering, "I should have achieved this by now." That is not your soul speaking, that is society's script. The truth is simpler and far kinder. The soul does not measure life in birthdays or deadlines. I've seen 20-year-olds exhausted by ambition and 70-year-olds launching dream projects with fire in their eyes. Which one do you think is more in alignment with destiny? The Buddhists remind us that clinging to time as an enemy only multiplies suffering. The novelist in me says deadlines are for manuscripts, not for souls. The researcher in me points to countless studies showing that fulfillment is not age-dependent but meaning-dependent. The bottom line, the clock is not your master. This year of triumph 2025 is not about racing others to a finish line or ticking boxes on society's checklist. It is about alignment. Destiny does not penalize you for being late according to worldly standards. It waits until you are ready and then pulls you forward with unmistakable force. And Aries, readiness is your keyword now. You don't need to rush to prove it, nor shrink in fear of missing it. You are precisely where you are meant to be. That is why the portal opens in September. The invitations, the laughter, the turtle's wisdom, even the myth of deadlines all converge to remind you that life is not a sprint to be won, but a rhythm to be lived. The only task is to step into it with courage, humor, and the willingness to trust that the mountain will still be there when you stop to breathe in the view. When the fire of Aries burns too hot, it doesn't simply flicker, it roars. That flame, if left unchecked, can quickly transform into restless anxiety, simmering impatience, or the kind of anger that startles even you when it escapes. The solution, oddly enough, is not to fight the fire but to shape it. That's where breathing comes in, not as a poetic metaphor but as a practical discipline. Think of each inhale as pulling fresh oxygen into the forge of your spirit, and each exhale as guiding the excess heat out so it doesn't scorch the room. A simple rhythm: inhale gratitude, exhale doubt, can shift the entire texture of a day. It sounds small, even laughable, but the most advanced truths often do. After all, if enlightenment were complicated, it wouldn't be enlightenment. And for Aries, who tends to demand life's answers in capital letters, the humor is that your greatest tool may just be something as ordinary as the breath you forget to notice. Now, while we're on the subject of reassurance, the number 8080 is circling you this month. Angel numbers often strike skeptics as mystical nonsense, yet in psychology we know humans rely on symbols to interpret meaning. Whether you call it divine math or subconscious resonance, the message is the same: you are protected. Ancestors, guides, angels, however you name the forces watching over you, they're in your corner. This climb you're making is not solitary. Even when you feel like the only one pushing uphill, there is invisible support moving with you. In fact, I would argue that Aries never really fights alone. Your stubborn courage tends to inspire people, even strangers, to silently root for you. All of this converges into one truth: September 2025 is no accident. The cycles closing around you are not punishments but preparations. You are being cleared and positioned for your year of triumph 2025, and not everyone can say that. Among the Zodiac, you are part of the chosen ones who feel life's weight and wonder with unusual intensity. The call for you is not just to exist but to live vividly, to lead boldly, to laugh loudly, and to ignite the sparks in others. And here is the paradox worth savoring: leadership for you does not come from charging ahead alone, but from enjoying the very moments you once tried to rush through. Slow down just enough to let joy catch up. Pause long enough to taste the victory you've earned. Because destiny doesn't knock like a polite guest, it kicks the door wide open, and this time the name carved into the doorframe is yours, Aries. So, Celebrate your fire. Build your foundation. Connect with others and trust that your breath, your patience, and your humor are more powerful than you realize. And as you walk into this next chapter, do it with courage and delight. If this message resonates, if you felt the spark in these words, I invite you to like this video, share it with a fellow seeker, and subscribe to my channel Zodiac Talks Tarot. Because this journey is far richer when we walk it together.